Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Thursday webinar in the Hub. And this morning I'm joined by Paulina Woźniak. Before I introduce Paulina, just to say that she's going to be speaking at the TESOL Spain conference this weekend, which is starting tomorrow and runs through till Sunday. There's still time to register if you want to come along. There are lots and lots of great speakers throughout the weekend, including lots of fantastic Hub members. So there's going to be obviously Paulina, I'm speaking as well, Harry Waters, Michelle Morgan, Annie Altamirano, Borja Oronuela, Kath Billsborough, and Elena Soboleva, who's going to be doing her rescheduled early years literacy talk in May with us. She's going to be speaking at TESOL Spain as well. So I'll share a link if you want to register. It's set to be a great weekend. Okay, so yep, this morning we're joined by Paulina with a chat about a flipped approach to grammar. Paulina's a Delta qualified teacher here in southern Spain, and I've seen her talk before. Like all of her talks about teenagers, they're always really inspiring, full of lots of practical tips. So I'm sure we're going to have some great ideas from Paulina this morning. Paulina, over to you.
Thank you very much for all these nice words and all the nice words that you said in the post, you know, because I don't remember actually thanking you. It was so nice, so nice. Thank you very much, you know. The flipped classroom approach. So I'm going to share the screen. Can I? That's something that I should have asked probably before. Okay, so that's the moment. Can everybody see the slide? Okay, cool. So, hi guys, my name is Paulina, and in this webinar, I am going to talk to you about my experience with the flipped classroom approach. I know this is not a typical way somebody starts a webinar, definitely not with a hey guys, but this is how I start my videos. And my students already, when they see me, they go like, hey guys. So, you know, they try to copy the way I say it, you know, the intonation and the melody. So I thought that it was the only appropriate way to greet you here. So in this webinar, we're going to talk about the flipped classroom approach. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experience. I will also ask you to interact with us. So please keep an eye on the chat, okay? And then at the end of the session, there will also be some time for you to ask me questions, okay? There'll be a moment when I will answer the 3 most frequently asked questions, and then I'll give you time to ask me more questions, okay? Because I believe if you're here, then you really want to find out more about this topic. So, what is the flipped classroom approach? This is the only definition I brought today. I hate bringing like, you know, theoretical stuff. So please read it. I'll give you 1 minute and then we'll discuss it together.
I was just thinking when you were saying then before about the hey guys, when I used to work in the school, I would always walk around and go morning, and I'd get kind of echoes morning with the same accent.
Well. But it's lovely, you know. I think it's also a sign of affection. And you know, some students also come and say, "What is guys? Like, why not students?" So, and I have an opportunity to tell them, well, you know, this is more natural. It's kind of like saying hi friend, you know, hey buddy. Mm-hmm. So, you know, they also feel like, oh, the teacher feels like, you know, we're friends. Like, you know, it helps the relationship with the students. Okay, so I think everybody has already read the definition. Now, I know it's big words, you know, we've got the prioritizing and signing lecture materials, big words, but in fact, the question that I might ask myself the very first time I saw the definition was, is this concept really new? Well, if we go back in time, now this might not be new for our happens, but if we think about our past, for a biology lesson, the teacher would say, read the next chapter. And so when I came to class, I was always prepared. I mean, or that was the idea. Of course, not everybody did it. You know, we were like, yes, we have read it, but it's been there for a while. So the main idea is that students do their homework before the class and not after. So they come to class prepared, and this way we've got more time for practice. So what is the objective of this webinar? After this session, I would like everybody to leave like, yay, I want to have a go at this flipped classroom approach. Yes, I want to try it. I'm not scared of making those videos. I want it. I want you to leave with this idea. Yes, I want you to leave excited, just like I am right now, you know. So I'm back in the game, you know, my maternity leave finished in December, so I'm excited to be here. And, you know, I hope you can feel it as well. So I know I'm excited. Maybe you're already getting excited, but how will I reach this objective? Because it's like, you know, I can tell you, yes, you can do it for the next half an hour, but will it work? Well, the enthusiasm wears off quite quickly. So, well, first of all, I'm going to tell you about my fears before starting, before having a go. Because I was scared of many things. Here in this webinar, I'll talk about 3 of them. But definitely, there are some things that I was scared of, like terrified of. And I would like to share them with you, tell them what they were and how I overcame those fears. I will also tell you what my students think about the approach, because I think, you know, it's a kind of conversation here, teacher to teacher, but the students, they should be in the center. So yeah, I will tell you what they think about the approach, and I will tell you what they think about the videos, which I think it's quite interesting. And finally, I've already mentioned this before, at the end, I will answer some frequently asked questions, and I'll give you time to ask me even more questions, okay? So I believe that we should have plenty of time for the discussion at the end, and the more questions you have, the better. So if anything, you know, pops in your head, so just write it down, and I will be happy to address all those doubts. So the things I was scared of. Now, a question, so over to you. What do you think I was scared of before having a go? So, T, I'll need your help with the chat.
Yep, I'll keep an eye on the chat. One thing that I was thinking was kind of what you've already mentioned, that, you know, you could go to all these lengths to prepare a flipped lesson, but if the students don't actually do the work beforehand, or if only half of them do it, or only one of them does it, kind of like what happens then? Do you kind of persevere and keep going, or do you just go, yeah, they're not going to do it, it's not going to work? So that would be one thing that would kind of put me off, particularly with teens.
Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest fears that I had. So yeah, you've targeted it.
Yeah, and Karen said the same, that not all the students would do what you asked.
Absolutely. I mean, if you work with teens, you know, giving them homework is always like, will they do it? Will they do it last minute? Now with the WhatsApp groups and Instagram and everything, like, will they just split? Because, you know, I've noticed that some of my students basically say, okay, so we've got 3 exercises, like this is the most I give them. So everybody has got 1 question and then they share. It's like, what's the point? I mean, but at the same time, it's great that they cooperate. Okay, do we have any?
No other
Yeah,
questions?
go ahead.
That's what Karen said. So kind of similarly, that kind of, so students might come into class having done it, but literally in the 2 minutes that they were waiting to go into the class, copying each other's answers and things. So kind of have they really absorbed what they should have done.
Exactly. Yeah. It might happen with the videos that they just click on them and they leave. I mean, I suppose we are all kind of guilty of going to a webinar. It's like, okay, I'm kind of interested, but not so much. Oh, I've got some writings to mark, or I kind of try to think about it's like, okay, would I really do it the way I want them to do it? So you have to be realistic.
Yeah. And another comment here from Karen about how students here in Spain, they're often already overwhelmed with homework and exams. So kind of are we adding to the pressure by saying you've got to do this before the next class?
Yeah. Well, my students, I must say, they were excited when you tell them, okay, watch a video instead of doing a page or an activity in the workbook. And as I said before, I don't normally give a lot of homework, like a page in the workbook. That happens once in a blue moon. And it's usually because the exercise comes with a picture and it literally occupies a whole page. But well, I will address here 3 fears that I had. So the first of them was time. So, well, preparing classes can already be time consuming. Of course, the more experienced you are, the less time you need. So it kind of feels like, okay, now, especially if you work with a course book for more than a year. So it's like, okay, I've already got some activities I prepared. So it's like, we can prepare a lesson in 10 minutes. But if I want to make those videos, it's like, how much time will it take me? I've been through a phase that I worked at work, at home. I was like creating presentations, creating everything. And I didn't really have much time to myself. But there was a moment when I said, stop. Like, you work at work, you live at home. I mean, more or less. And, with the pandemic, it became very, very literal. The living part only took place at home. So what I was scared was the time. So will I have to dedicate a lot of time? It goes against my new rules of not spending or not working at home. So that was one thing. Another was the cool factor, as I call it. So I was afraid that the students wouldn't like my videos. I was like, okay, so it's kind of what you said. Will they watch the video? Like, well, if it's boring, then they will not. I mean, it's just like with homework. When they see a crossword, no matter how old they are, they get like, yay, crossword, and then give them transformations, and they have this, we can see the sorrow and the pain on their faces as they write down my homework is. So I was afraid that my videos wouldn't be cool enough for them. They wouldn't be good enough. And a student's engagement. So here it's kind of related with the previous year. So will they watch it, or will they click and go and do something different? And they can say, okay, so I've watched the video, of course, if they see the thumbnail, they know what the topic is, or they can even see it in the book. I mean, let's be honest, it's not like I give them a grammar video from the end of the book. It's the grammar that they can see in a unit. So yeah, I was scared that they would not engage with those videos, that they would not pay attention. And so, first of all, let's have a look at this time issue. How can I make cool videos in little time? Now, to find the solution, it took me a while, so that was time consuming. But now I can honestly tell you that I am capable of creating videos even in 5 minutes. So I think that's pretty promising, let's say. So the easiest way for me was to use presentations with narration. So like if I asked everybody here in the room, if you've ever created a grammar presentation for your students, I suppose that the majority would say yes. multiple times. So many of us already have the presentations. So they're already there. It's the work we've already done. Some course books, they come with ready to go presentations. So for example, well, Pearson don't pay me for publicity, but I'm using Gold Experience books this year, and they come with grammar presentations, which I can use. And then adding narration only takes as much as going through the presentation. So if it's a short presentation, it can really take me 2 to 3 minutes. If it's a longer presentation, it depends on well, usually it's the grammar point. So if it's, for example, the modal verbs, then it takes me a while because you have to go over the meaning of every single modal verb. When it's conditionals, if you do one conditional, then the video is going to be quite short. So what I didn't know at the very beginning is that you can even save PowerPoint presentations as video already. So I think this is my biggest discovery. So it's available from PowerPoint 2013 upwards. So not the older versions, but the latest versions do have this option. So you can add narration to every slide and you can save it as video. And that's quite comfortable. And another way, the way that I've been using it for, I think, for a while, for almost 2 years. I mean, like for a while. So using a screen recording software. So basically, just like I am now talking about this presentation to you guys, I record a screen with the audio. So this is how I got my headset. 1 year before the pandemic. That was the best purchase ever, because now it's like twice the price. So, but back to the topic. So when you record a narration to the presentation, it really is quite fast. And as I said, if you have the presentations, well, just use them from the library that you've already, the library of resources you've already created. So it's there. Another type of videos that I've made for my students is teacher explanations, or that's what I call them. So basically, you take your phone, put it in selfie mode, and you explain the grammar to your students. If you don't like the selfie mode, you can ask a colleague to record you as you explain the grammar point on the board. So just like you would normally do it in class, you just ask somebody to record you. For many of us, that might be the easiest or the most comfortable way of creating those videos, because that's the way we do it in class. Now, some people say, oh, but I feel self-conscious, I don't like seeing myself on camera. I don't like hearing myself. It's a little bit hard at the beginning. I had that fear too. In the very first videos I created, I used screenshots of the grammar reference from the book, and I didn't want my face to be seen. I think the first videos when you can see my face are from a year and a half ago, more or less, when I was like, well, my students know who I am. I make the videos for my students. So, for the video as a woman, that will sound vain, but I'm like, okay, my mascara, the full makeup and everything, what do I put on? So, that's another difficulty for some people, but my students have seen me wearing leggings, an old sweater. And sometimes they say, oh, teacher, you look nice in this video. And I'm like, this is the worst sweater I have in my wardrobe, but I just had to make that video for the class, the following day. So don't be self-conscious. And if you really are self-conscious and pressed for time, well, YouTube offers millions of videos. I mean, it's probably gazillions in total, but when it comes to grammar, there are millions of videos that you can use. So the only important tip here would be to go over the video. I mean, watch it, because sometimes the level is not exactly appropriate. It depends on the book that you're using. For example, with some of my students, the ones that I prepare for PET, when it's the second year of preparation, we use a B1 plus book. So sometimes the grammar is one step ahead. So when it's, exam preparation, depending on the level of the group, I sometimes skip parts of the grammar. So be aware of that. when you choose a video, make sure the person in the video doesn't wear anything strange. I mean, I had this one video with somebody, I don't know how they didn't realize, but it was like crazy AF or something. I was like, why would you put a t-shirt like that? And the thing is that students later come to class and they say, what did it mean? Or what was the abbreviation for? It's like, oh, I did not notice. So, well, of course, it's better, check the video first, watch it. I mean, you're going to ask the students to watch the entire video, so watch the video as well. Okay, so here's just a screenshot of how to save a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation as video. So as you say, when you click on export, create a video, then you click on create video, you can directly upload it to, for example, a YouTube channel if you're using this option. So the latest PowerPoint versions make it really easy for us. And here's just a picture of me giving the teacher explanation video. Now, as you see, my hair looks like a mess. I didn't have time. And yet my students the other day say, oh, teacher, you look lovely. And I was like, well, if you say so. So students really are very positive about those videos, but I'll tell you more about that a bit later. So
one quick question. Karen asks, could you use an avatar if you're really uncomfortable about showing yourself?
Absolutely. I would even say that you can use the filters. So there was a moment when I tried to use TikTok, but then explaining grammar point in 1 minute, it was kind of impossible to me. But it's true that I would use a filter, and so you can have bunny ears and you can make a video for younger students, or you can totally use an avatar so your face would be impossible to recognize. About self-consciousness, I was actually I think I was more self-conscious about my pronunciation, about the fact that I was not a native speaker. It's like the whole native speakerism idea, it's still at the back of my head. I've been kind of fighting with this, your pronunciation is not good enough or whatever. And so for me, it's like, oh, did I say it right? Did I pronounce it right? And I'll go to the mispronouncing part in a few minutes as well. So, but yeah, I like the idea of an avatar. So again, you would need to find software for it, but it's your video. So basically you can do whatever you want to with it. You can even dress up. So you could say, okay, watch this video, check what I dressed up as, so an element of surprise. Again, a couple of tricks how to engage your students. Well, they're coming in a few seconds. So yeah. So what I call the cool factor, engaging students. So the three sub questions, like, will students watch my videos? Will they like them? And will the videos be enough? Because sometimes, we give an explanation in class, then we start doing an exercise and we realize, oh, I forgot to mention this thing. So what if this happens with my video? What if I do it like that? So what can I do? How can I fix it? So here are 3 categories of activities, tricks you can do with your students in order to engage them with your videos. And the first one would be making a reference to a student. So using your students' names, that's an easy trick, but that's what we do in class. When you use your student's name to explain a grammar point, maybe a classroom situation. So remember when I was trying to explain the meaning of the phrasal verb take away, and I hit my head hard because I was literally taking away an imaginary thief, and I do it. Yeah, I hit my head so hard that the students didn't listen to me for like 10 minutes. But you can refer to it. It's like, okay, remember. So you can make a joke. Inside jokes are great. If you have this one student in one group, of course, often try not to bully anybody, but I had this one student, she was like can I go to the toilet? And it was like there was always the same time. She was like, can I? And everybody was like, okay, she wants to go to the toilet. So when you teach the modal verbs, I said, oh, remember when Maria asked me whether she could go to the toilet? She said, can I go? So you can use examples from the classroom. And I think this is one of the ways that students really like, because they like always listen to the video and they like, will she say my name? Is it my turn? Is it my turn? You can tell them when you ask them to watch this video, like, I mentioned some of you, like, you need to tell me if it's true or false, or did it happen? Did it not happen? So one of the feedback after the first flipped video, I asked my students to watch, they said, I liked it because there were jokes about us. So, and if you choose generic names, so say as Maria and Pablo, you know, depending on the area of Spain, so, you know, maybe it's going to be Ibai, Unai in the Basque country, you know, you're going to realize that, you know, in every group, you usually have Maria. So, or you can say, oh, I created this video last year. It's like, oh, last year she taught my sister, my brother. So using students' name really engages them.
Because I was going to ask about that, like when you mentioned about making references to students, do you normally try to reuse your videos from one year to the next?
Yes, it helps a lot again with saving time. So if I use the same course book, then definitely. If the course book changes, then you have to have a look at it. Because of course, quite often grammar in the course book is also connected to the vocabulary you study in a unit. So sometimes, you know, for example, this unit, I'm going to teach the passive voice, and the theme of the unit is the natural world. I've done the passive in the past, but it was about arts. So, you know, the movie will be shown, or, you know, the picture, the painting will be displayed at an exhibition. So of course it's still the same grammar point, but if you want the topic to be relevant to the students, then you might want to create a new video. So I would say it depends a lot on how good your video is as well, because, you know, sometimes we curate those videos, we spend more time, we promise ourselves just 5 minutes, but it's like, oh, I'll add an animation here and a picture there, and oh, I have this great idea, and you dedicate a bit more time. So I would say go for it, recycle the video. Now with the FCE group, we use the Ready for First series. So there is a new edition. So the old book had 14 units, now it's got 12. So it's like, okay, this is the old book, this is the new book, theme is the same, but the unit number is different. So sometimes, so I recycled, for example, those videos, because as I said, the theme was even the same, but I had to tell my students, watch out. The unit number in the video is different from the one that we are covering in class. Ignore it. And then, you know, 1 or 2 will show up and they say, oh, I didn't watch the video, but because the unit number was wrong. Because it's like, you know, it goes into the anticipated problems column of your lesson plan. So somebody asked me a while ago, like, why are you always so pessimistic? And I said, I'm not that pessimistic. I'm anticipating problems, you know, so because this way I can address them and I can fix them. So here, yeah, be careful with recycling videos, because, for example, I always use the level of the group first, or at least I try, if I don't forget it. So it's always the level, then the course book name and the unit and the grammar point, for example. So, you know, if you're using a different course book, you can tell the students it's for a different course book or from a different course book, but the grammar is the same. So, for example, as I mentioned before, I had a B1 plus course, but I was preparing students for B1 exam. I wanted to cut down the amount of grammar I was teaching, so I used grammar from a B1 book. And so I told my students, it will look different. It's not the same style of video. Okay, but that was a great question. And then quite often I make the videos by narrating or recording the screen. Now what happens? I do them in one go. And when you do something in one go, many things can happen. Now, so if I'm lucky, if I don't make mistakes, then the video can take, recording the video can take 3 minutes. But if the dog starts barking like crazy in the background, then, I have to, I had to stop and, take care of the dog and then go back to my video. In some videos, I said, oh, that's my dog barking in the background. And then you can ask students, oh, how many times did the dog bark? But if they bark so many times that you have to restart the recording, then it's a different story. You also sometimes, well, it's normal, the slips of the tongue, we make mistakes. Sometimes even in the presentation, we go over it like 100 times and then you start recording and it's like, oh God. So you can tell the students, oh, there is a mistake. Will you find a mistake in the video? So students are like, oh, first of all, they see us as people who also make mistakes. I mean, I always tell my students that it's not like I am the person who knows everything about grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation. Sometimes we mispronounce something by accident, as I said, a slip of the tongue. Sometimes I don't realize until I watch the videos, like, did I really say it like that? So be human, tell your students, I made a mistake. Find a mistake in the video. You can even make the mistake on purpose. And you can say, I made a mistake that I always correct in class. So if it's something that, when my students say signs instead of sins, I tell them that I have allergy and I scratch myself. It's like, so, you could say, science, and it's like, okay, so have you noticed a mistake? So again, it's a little bit of an inside joke that you have with your students, but also something that, shows the students that you are a human and we all make mistakes. And finally, you can give students a task. I mean, finding the mistake is already a kind of task. So here, whenever I teach modal verbs, well, not modal verbs, like fixed phrases, had better, I always sing Santa Claus is coming to town. So, it's like, you better watch out, you better not cry. And then I'm like, so which song did Paulina sing? So they have to watch it. They don't know where I'm singing, maybe they can, see it from the lip movement, but in general, so they're curious about it. Depending on the level age of your students, you can put stickers, for example, a star sticker. So how many times did you see a yellow star? So they have to see it and, they have to pay attention. And now over to you. Can you think of any other examples, any other tasks that you could ask the students to do as they watch the video?
I like those ideas. I love the idea of finding the mistake as well, because the students always love that. I was thinking to Harry Waters, and when he did a session one time and he shared his screen and then he went away and changed his shirt or put on a hat. So you could do something like that as well. Kind of pause your narration and change something in your background. And
absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. I haven't had any other ideas come in as yet, but what else could we do? Don't know. Do you worry sometimes that if you're giving students a task to focus on whilst they're watching the video, that they'll focus more on that than the content?
That is true, and I've already been asked about that. I suppose that's again kind of related to the fact whether you're making the videos for a specific group or whether you're reusing a video. Because when you have a specific group for whom you prepare the video, the attention span. I mean, I had this one group for all the videos. I like to have background music, and I remember once the students didn't watch the video. Again, we will address this problem later. So we watched it in class, and everybody went like this. And and they were looking at each other. Oh, everybody is doing that. And yes, so there is this, the question that pops up in your head is like, are they watching or are they just having fun? So depends a lot on the attention span. So I think that the best task is the find a mistake one, honestly, because first of all, it's like photoshopping your video. So basically, if you happen to make a mistake and you're like, I'm not going to record this video again because I don't want to, I don't have time, or everything is perfect apart from the fact when I made that mistake. So students look for the mistake, so they have to listen. Again, you could choose maybe a sound rather than something visual, because again, as you say, students might be looking at the screen, not paying attention to what you're saying. So definitely, I would say that adapt the task to your students. If you see that they get easily distracted, then choose something that will not be so disturbing. And well, it's not mentioned here, but I think it's quite a simple idea. You can include an exercise at the end of the video. So as default, at the end of my videos, the ones which I make with the Pearson presentations, they come with an exercise, and there are answers. So I usually say, do the first one together, as an example, just like I would normally do in class. And then I say, okay, if you would like to do this exercise, pause the video, because in 10 seconds, I'm going to start giving you answers. So actually you can stop your video at that point or not display answers. And you could ask your students to do that final task as homework. And you could expect students to do it quite well. I mean, depending also on the presentation and everything. So it's a basic thing, but you can simply ask students to do a task at the end of the video. And then it's not something that distracts them. It's something that is based on the video they have just seen. So just like in class, when we give a grammar presentation and then students do the exercise, it's just done at home. So again, choose something that will not be too time consuming, because I kind of sell the flipped videos as easier and faster than any homework that they would do in a workbook or on an online platform, depending on what you work with. Do you have any other ideas or?
Nothing else has come in, but I think you're right as well about like if their homework is on their phone, really. Yeah. If their homework is to watch a video, they don't have to be carrying around their English books and things like that. So kind of there's less excuse for them not to have done the homework as well, because they could
absolutely
watch it on the bus or
I had students who watched the video on the bus. Yes. So they said, yeah, we have to take a bus to get to the academy. So I always watch it. And then sometimes they would come up with an excuse like, oh, teacher, I forgot my headphones. So, but I always allow my videos, there's a caption and subtitles. So they are generated automatically by YouTube. There are always some strange things because, it's automatically generated, but I tell my students that they can use it as well. So this way, if they cannot, if they don't have their headphones, I'm trying to limit all of the excuses as we go. But the more we limit them, the more they will find. They always find a way. Okay, so if anybody comes up with an idea later, we can of course go back to it. Now, the big question from the beginning: what if the students don't watch the video before the class? Well, this one is in bold. Don't panic. Now, I know I'm in the Zen zone right now. I've been flipping my classroom, my lessons for 3 years now. So it's like, it will happen. And it's going to happen most probably the first time you do it. I was very lucky because my first flipped lesson was observed. And it was observed by somebody that I didn't really like. So I told my students, you know, there is a teacher, he's coming here, he's going to observe me as a teacher, not you. Well, he will see you, the side effect of observing me, but he's observing me. And you know, I would really like this lesson to work. You know, he's here to learn from me, you know, me, the wonderful teacher. So, you know, if you give it importance. And so most of my students watched that video the first time around. And once they watch the first video, it's actually easier to get into the habit asking them, okay, watch the video, watch the next video. So, but first of all, don't panic. It will happen. Unfortunate because, you know, we put not only our time and effort, but also our heart into preparing those videos. But yes, it is going to happen. So what you can do, for example, you can pair students up, a student who has seen the video with somebody who has not seen the video. You can tell them, okay, so tell each other what the video is about. Or basically, you know, you have this one mini teacher, and, you know, sometimes they can be very good mini copies of you, including the intonation of the explanation from the grammar video. And so they can just help each other throughout the lesson. Something that we tend to forget, you know, in the academy, most of our students have been with us forever. So the grammar point we're teaching is actually an extension of something they've already done before. So it's not like they come without any idea. Like, you know, they're greenish, but they're not totally green. Like, you know, they've seen parts of this grammar before. You know, you can watch the video with your students if you see that most of them have not seen the video. This is the version, like the option, which I kind of hate because it's like, okay, so I've put my work into all of this, then we watch this video, I see myself on screen or I hear it. So again, you know, the self-consciousness, they're saying, oh, your voice. You know, I tell my students that their actions have consequences. And so if I have to dedicate my class time to giving an explanation or watching a video, then they get extra practice as homework. And so sooner or later, they realize that watching those videos is a win-win because it's easier to watch a grammar video at home than to do the grammar work. Also, you know, maybe not at the beginning, but after 2, 3, 4 classes, students realize that when they watch the video, they come to class prepared, we do more practice, so they feel more comfortable using the language point. Because sometimes it happens that we teach grammar, students do exercises, and they're kind of start, you know, grabbing the main idea, and then we leave them home. They wait for 2 or 3 days before they do their written homework. I mean, I always give my students 1 week. I kind of assume that they have so much homework at school that, you know, I want to give them extra time. Well, the final effect is that they often do it like the day before class, if not before class. And so they don't forget, they don't remember that grammar explanation. So they do it and they do it all wrong. Or so, you know, it would, you know, it means that you have to go over the grammar point again as you check homework. So when students realize that when they watch the video, they practice more in class, they feel more comfortable using grammar. Quite often there's extra time for a game, a grammar game, or maybe Kahoot or something that the students like, depending on, you know, what your students love. You can tell them, okay, I've got extra 10 minutes now, so we can play a game. And so, you know, bribery, it works. So, you know, it's like bringing candy to class. You know, they can buy any candy they want in the class, but when you offer them a candy for a good answer, you know, everybody's like, yay, at least I'll have a go. Okay. So also at the end of my videos, I encourage students to have a look at the grammar reference. So I tell them, have a look at it. YouTube gives you this option where at the end of your video, you can choose suggested videos. So I always, like, if I am teaching with a different course book, but I've taught the grammar point before, I link the new video to the old video. or if I'm teaching, for example, B1 level, I link the video to the B1 plus level. So those students who are interested in a topic, if they want to find out more, they can always find more information. And in fact, last year I had a B1 student, and at the same time I had a C1 group, and both groups simultaneously had modal verbs. So of course, modal verbs are different for B1 and C1. But that student, he said, "Oh, teacher, one of the suggested videos was modal verbs for C1, and I watched it and I understood it all." And I was like, "Okay, great, Pedro." He's always the first one to finish all the activities. So he had extra knowledge of models in the past, like perfect models, and he was so proud of himself. So I think one of the biggest advantages of using this approach is that it champions the underdog. So the weak students can watch the videos more than once. And then the strong students, the ones who want to find out more, like Pedro, well, they can jump from B1 to C1 and they don't see much difference, probably it doesn't say much about my videos, or well, I suppose it's the models. I always tell my students, once you realize that they have a meaning and that's it, they don't change so much from one level to another. But I think Pedro is a great example. And here I've got 2 comments made by my students. Now, one of them is in English, so have a look at this one. If you speak Spanish, have a look at the other one. I will translate it to you in a second, okay? Because I'm aware of the fact that some people here don't speak Spanish or don't feel so confident. But I can tell you they're quite similar. And I copied them words and all, so that's what they wrote, very literally.
That's really lovely. And I think it goes with what you're saying about it being a win-win situation. So this idea that classes are more interactive if they're not just sitting there doing controlled practice and doing a lot more speaking activities and using the grammar. So that's great.
Yeah, well, I often say that this is how our grammar lessons survived over the pandemic, because when we started teaching on Zoom and the computers were crashing and you thought that you had a 90-minute lesson, but in fact you had a 60-minute lesson because, it's like, am I sharing the screen? Can you hear me? It's like, I wouldn't say wasted, we lost a lot of time online. So it wasn't wasting, it was losing due to technical problems in the situations. So here, that's what the students, it's like we made the most of those grammar lessons because students could watch the video before class, the audio didn't cut, so they could watch it as many times as they needed. So here, just for those of you who don't speak Spanish, the second comment says that the videos are very useful to improve learning. I think that the videos are equally good as explanations in class, but you can see them multiple times. And it's good to watch the video before and watch out after the class, so to revise. So it's like, I love this part, like before and after. I was like, oh, yes. Of course, there was a comment or two. It's like, oh, I prefer to watch the video in class. And I'm like, yeah, of course, you prefer to, watch it and, maybe even have some popcorn. The first time we watched the video, it was like, can I have a sandwich? It's like, no, pay attention. So, yes, it's true that students appreciate the ability, the possibility to watch these videos again. I also ask my students to watch them as part of the exam revision. So before we do the exam review at home, I asked them to go over the videos, have a look at them. As we said, watching a video is quite easy. So yeah, students really, really enjoy this way of learning. And as I also said at the beginning, the cool factor, I was afraid that my students wouldn't like my videos. So I asked them to evaluate my videos and evaluate the content, the quality, and how engaging the videos were. This is a mark out of 5. So And as I said, I've never really created crazy, beautiful animations. I tried to go for the fast and easy option, something that would not be time consuming for me. So the content, well, actually, if I use the grammar presentations from the book, that's not on me. But the quality here and the engagement, everything was about above 4. So I thought that it's actually pretty generous. And, in fact, after one of my videos, like a student came to class and he said, "Oh, teacher, your videos are so well edited." And I was like, that was before I learned how to edit videos, but they were, the PowerPoint presentations with animations, and for students, that was enough. So for those of you who are afraid that, oh, your video is not going to be great, I mean, I would encourage you to have a look at my channel, not to gain subscribers whatsoever, but just to see that the videos that I make are not, it's nothing out of this world. It's pretty much basic stuff. And in fact, one of the videos that have received, most visits is on, I believe it's perfect models. And again, it's a video in which I use screenshots of the grammar reference. So I really try to create a quick video. I added narrations to each slide, and then I saved it as a video. So as I told you, the easiest way of doing it. So the only thing you need to find is a program that you feel comfortable using, so some software, and you're ready to go. And now time for the questions. So I've prepared 3, but if you have any more questions, feel free to ask them in chat and I'll be more than happy to address them. Now, probably the most frequently asked question that I get is, does it only work for grammar? And of course not. I believe that it depends mostly on your teaching style. I've been encouraged by my students now to create videos for exam techniques. It's like something that we always do. It's like before we go over reading part 6 of I don't know which exam, it's like, okay, you tell them, so first read the text first, then look at the questions, underline the keywords. I mean, it's always the same thing we tell them. It's like, the old tape. I mean, they don't know the idea of a tape, but, it's us being, on loop. It's like repeating the same thing over and over again. So I think that the next challenge for me will be to create videos with techniques for students, exam techniques. I believe you could also do it with vocabulary. The thing for me, I like to teach vocabulary in context. So after doing a reading or a listening task, so that's why you will not see probably any vocabulary video here or on my channel, because I just feel that it's more relevant and it will stay in our students' heads for longer if they actually see it in context first and maybe deduce the meaning. But again, there was a moment during the pandemic where I thought maybe I could just record an imaginary class again with the screen recording software. So what if I imagine that I have students and we do the exercises? I suppose it is possible. Again, I suppose, well, it would be more time consuming. I mean, it would be a longer video for vocabulary, because if you go over all the parts, like you show the context and the meaning, but it's up to you. I've definitely I've created a video on how to write an article for the new B1 exam, and students like it. And again, if you have a look at the tips there, it's like the first one is like read the task, and students come to class and say, yeah, good video. It's like, seriously, you need a video to learn that you need to read the task and the instructions? But for some reason, me on screen is like, more interactive. I don't know, maybe I sound cooler. I still haven't figured out what the difference is. And so it depends on what you want to teach and the time you want to assign to it and the students that you have. Because I believe that, if you have a blended course, then maybe you can do almost all the inputs, like the predictable input, like grammar, vocabulary, systems, pronunciation. You could do all of that in terms of the videos, and then you could just focus on skills, especially, the productive skills in class. So it's up to you. Remember that as a teacher, you make the decisions based on the students that you have. A question that I often get is about the software that I use. Now here I'm quite similar to T. I hate paying for the resources that I use. So I started off last year with NCH software, which I used for recording the screen and also editing the video. And I did pay for that one. It was one of the cheapest ones, but it kind of went with what I needed. Now, horrible people, they decided to divide their software into two. There's a separate one for screen recording and the other one for editing. I said, I'm not paying for two. So I started investigating, looking into different software, and I found Screencast-O-Matic, which allows you to record a screen for up to 20 minutes. It allows me to add background music. So I already love this because at the very beginning, I would play the audio, I would start a recording, it was like very, very basic, I really didn't try to make it complicated. Now I can upload the music and it lasts exactly as long as the video does. And apparently it also allows you some minor editing in the free version. I haven't checked that one yet, but I think it can be useful because if you actually have a presentation and you record screen, sometimes it takes just cutting a video at a certain point, and then if you make a mistake, like a big one, and you want to correct, then video editing, it can actually allow you to do it faster. At the very beginning, I thought that editing a video would make the whole process longer. Then I discovered that when I edited videos, I made a mistake. So I said, okay, 10 seconds. I would go back and then I would just cut like the part when I made a mistake with that moment of silence. Then Adobe, I used Adobe once, I think for the writing article video. This one allowed me to edit it online. So that was an advantage because sometimes, we work on different computers at work, at home. So that was great. And I know that they have special prices. So this one is paid for, but they've got special prices for teachers. Now, for some reason, I couldn't apply for it with my school email because it has to be an official school email. But there is a huge difference in price. So actually, the software for teachers is quite, let's say, I wouldn't say cheap, but inexpensive. It's not, it's something you can think about. Especially that it also goes with all the other, bits and pieces of Adobe, like the PDF editor. And when you start thinking about all the options you have, it might be worth it. And Canva, which I use for the visual materials I create with my students. Yes, I love it too. And I use the free option. So, the premium version allows you, it allows you to use more graphics, more images, extra stuff. But I imagine, to be honest, I think that with what they offer for free, at least for the time being, you can do a lot. For example, this presentation, I made it with Canva. So the only thing that it didn't have, or I didn't figure out how to use were the animations. So basically, if you've seen like 3 things appearing one after another on screen, it's just the same slide copied and then adding an element. But, it's something that you can work with. And finally, the third question that I prepared for you guys is how much time? So I think I've said it before, like a couple of times already. It depends on you. It depends on how much time you want to dedicate. So it can take 3 minutes. The longest videos I created were slightly above 20 minutes. And I believe that was the modal verbs video. Again, because I went over the meaning of all of the modal verbs. So it depends on the grammar point, on how much your students already know about this grammar point, how you like to explain this grammar point. Because in some of my grammar explanations, I am I'm a minimalist, I like to say that passive is be and past participle. And I expect my students to know how to conjugate the verb be. And you know, the very first time you do it, it's like no, at this point, whether it's B1, B2, C1, I expect you to know what's the future, past, and present of the verb be. So here it will depend on how much explanation you want to give. Whether you give your students time to think about some answers or not. I've told my students that they can pause the video if they have to think about something. So this way, my video is or looks shorter. It's faster to me to create, but then students have to stop and, for example, read something. So I kind of say, okay, read this now, 1, 2, 3, counting in my head, and then I continue. So I tell my students, okay, when I say read something, and if you see an animation coming or whatever, just stop the video and have a look at it. So to be honest, I started with videos that took me 1 hour to create. And now if I have a presentation and the software and everything works fine, it can take 3 to 5 minutes. Then of course, if you make a silly mistake and you have to go over it, like the postman, or as I said before, the dog, or well, life happens. Sometimes you can just make a reference to what's happening in the background. Sometimes you have to just kill your husband. It's like, oh honey, I was like, I told you I'm recording. So yeah, so it will depend on your situation here. Do we have any more questions, or
no more questions have come in the chat. I was going to ask about kind of how long you make your videos, so you've answered that one. And then in terms of sharing them, because I know you've got your Instagram and your YouTube channel, and I'll share the links to those afterwards. Do you tend to just share the videos on YouTube?
Yes, what I've done with, especially with younger students, I created shortcuts. So when you have those websites that shorten the website address, I would, for example, so I used to use tiny.cc, so it was tiny.cc / and for example, I would call the video like FCE Unit 1 or B1 Unit 3. So I wanted to find a way of creating, making sure that the students could watch the video. Because with the older ones, depending on your school's policy as well, I am allowed to have a WhatsApp group with my students. So basically, I send them a link in a WhatsApp group. We have a platform that, which we can use to contact the parents, so I can send the link there. So depending on the group level, I send a link to the parents, I ask the students. Instagram is one way. So, our teenagers, they like feeling important. So they say, oh, teacher, I'll follow you if you follow me back. So that's why I have this official YouTube channel, YouTube and Instagram channel, so that nobody can say, it's like, it's a public one. And so, yes, I share it on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. I kind of chase my students, like wherever they go, they can see the link. So again, because it's a way that I try to guarantee that they watch the video. I share them on YouTube, and at the very beginning, the only subscribers I had were my students. So it was as easy as posting a video, asking the students to watch them. If I had 12 visits, it meant that everybody in class watched it. Or I had to say, oh, 1 visit is me on my phone, 1 visit is me on my computer at work. It's like, okay, 10 out of 12. So somebody didn't see the video. So now it's kind of impossible because the channel has grown. So I've got like, I don't know, something around 400 subscribers. Some of them from Malaysia. Interesting, a fun fact. I don't know anybody from Malaysia, but I have subscribers to my YouTube channel. And so if I post a video, unfortunately, it's got 10 visits, for example, the very same day I posted, before I even asked my students to watch the video. So YouTube Studio gives you access to analytics. So I can see, for example, how many people saw the video from Spain, or within a certain time frame. So I use that to check whether my students have seen the video or not. And now I ask my students to leave a comment, and I tell them you can even leave us like a full stop. And this way I know, okay, you've seen the video, or give me a like. So, students are quite often like, oh, teacher, you want to become famous. And so I told my students that the very first day I earned my first euro from my YouTube channel, I'm buying pizza for everybody. So I don't know when it will happen. And, again, earning the first euro, I think it will take me a couple more years. But it's funny because the students, they watch the videos, they tell their parents about the videos, so sometimes the parents watch the videos as well. I had company classes, and one of the students said, oh, I saw that you had a video, so I watched it. I was like, oh, nice. So, I no longer have those company classes, but I said, yeah, I feel like I can still learn from you and with you. So yeah, I post the videos on different platforms, well, the links on different platforms, just to make sure that I can reach my students, and to make it easy for them. It's kind of like making sure that the students take the workbook back from school, because like, oh, I left my workbook on the table, so I couldn't do homework. We've been there, done that. So it's the same with the videos. I kind of believe that if I bombard them everywhere with the link, then they will watch it. I kind of feel that sending a link to the parents is the last resource, because I know that the parents will be there like, are you watching? Do you understand? Like, what did she say? So yeah, I kind of prefer to do it, our way without any intermediaries. But so depending on your students as well. If you've got a naughty group who don't like to watch the videos, when you send the link to parents, like, we work together.
Excellent. Well, we haven't had any other questions come in. Karen mentions as well, teens and tweens do love looking at screens. So like we were mentioning before, it's an easy way to capture their attention. Obviously, if anybody has any questions, if you're watching on catch up, do feel free to post them, and it's probably best to tag Paulina or I so that we can see those questions as they come in. Fantastic. And I'll share the links to you're on Facebook, you're on, well, you've got Polish Your English with Power.
My everything.
Instagram on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm selling myself.
Excellent. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Paulina, for coming along.
Thank you.
We've had a question just coming out. The average length of your videos. So you said like the longest you've done is about 20 minutes.
The longest 20 minutes, and the shortest ones, like I had this one book which had like a second grammar point like connected to the listening, and those videos were like, I think 2 minutes even. So I called them express grammar videos. I would go like over the basic meaning, form. So it's hard to say. Well, it's not hard to say. It's just depends on the grammar point. I believe it's just like when we teach grammar in class. There are some grammar points that you can teach in 2-3 minutes, and then some grammar points if you really want to go over passive for every single tense. I believe one lesson, one class is not long enough if you really want to go over every single aspect.
Excellent. Well, like you said, I think it's such a great idea because, those learners that need a little bit more time, they can pause, they can re-watch, they can watch it before the lesson, after the lesson. So I think it's a great approach in terms of differentiation and making the most of class time as well to do more production with the language. Fantastic.
Yes, especially because if there's something students don't understand, they already come to class aware of that. So, because we kind of say, yes, they know what's going on, but they also know what they don't know. So I think that's also like an advantage we don't often think about. It's like they know, oh, teacher, I just don't get it, And again, it happens sometimes in class that we give this beautiful presentation in front of our students, and then they go like, teacher, but I don't understand. It's like, oh, so,
And I guess as well, if you're in contact with your students in a different way, so kind of this back channel idea, they can easily kind of send you a message before the class to say they don't understand something, rather than that moment of any questions and somebody afraid to say something.
Absolutely.
Excellent. So, I mean, I'm convinced. I wish I was back in the classroom so that I could use a flipped approach. But yeah, loads of really great ideas from Paulina this morning about how to create your videos, and do check out her social media to see some of the videos in action. And I hope everybody decides to give it a go.
Yep, I hope so too. That was the objective.
Well, like I said before, Paulina is going to be speaking at TESOL Spain this weekend. I'll share a link for that. We've got an extra special coffee break session coming up this afternoon. We're welcoming TESOL Spain members and hashtag SigTweetMeet folks from Twitter as well. I'll be there. It might just be me, but do come along if you want to. And we'll be back with another webinar in 2 weeks' time, when Daniel Becker will be talking about mental health in ELT materials. So have a great fortnight, everyone, and see you sometime soon.